This is the Purple Passion Project with host and clinical sexologist, Dr. Stacy Friedman. This is your go-to podcast for raw, real, and irresistibly juicy conversations about sex, intimacy, connection, and everything in between. Whether you're feeling a little stuck in your love life, curious about what turns you on, or just craving conversations that actually matter, you're in the right place. So now, please welcome the host of the Purple Passion Project, Dr. Stacy Friedman.
What do you get when you mix purple, passion, and permission to be your true self? This podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Dr. Stacy, and this is the Purple Passion Project, coming to you live and unfiltered. And this is the show where we talk sex, intimacy, connection, and everything underneath the surface. Because let's be honest, small talk is boring and you're ready for the good stuff. So relax, drop your guard, and get ready for truth, laughs, and maybe a few gasps, and a whole lot of passion. Today's guest is someone who brings a truly unique energy into this space, and her name is Tammi Lipp. Tammi is an intuitive healer, spiritual coach, psychic medium, and certified energy practitioner who helps strong, creative souls reconnect with their intuition and live their truth. After a high-powered corporate career and transformative personal journey through motherhood, healing, Tammi now blends practical tools with metaphysical wisdom to help people clear blocks, embrace their sensitivity, and expand into their most soul-aligned selves. So whether you're skeptical or spiritual, this episode is going to light you up. So I'm going to bring on Tammi. Hello, Tammi.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Stacy.
Yes, absolutely. I actually met Tammi at a networking group and we fell in love with each other because of our purple hair. So it's really, really cool to find someone that has the same love of purple as we do. So it's great to have you here.
Definitely. I was so attracted to your hair, your glass. You had the whole, I'm like, who is this woman who looks just like me? I love her already.
Well, it's funny because, I've always been told by either mediums or healers that I have an intuition. And I've realized over the last few years that I've really started learning about just how to use it through myself. And then I met with you that one time, which really was great in learning about your intuition. So I think that this episode is going to be really, really cool because a lot of people don't listen to their intuition as much. And when you're dealing with relationships, it's so important to be able to literally trust your intuition and how it can connect you to the right relationship.
Oh my God, so much so. I'm going to be married 15 years in October. And
mine's October too.
Yeah, October 1st, we got married. So we got married in 2010. We've been together since 2007. And so funny that you bring that. I wasn't planning to share this story, but it feels right to do that. When I met my husband, I had just come off of a relationship where, let's just say, truth was not part of the process. And so I met my husband. We met online, and I was not looking for a relationship. I just was wanting to, move on from my heartaches and whatever. And then here was this man, right, who I picked, we met online. I picked him because he looked like he would just not be the relationship type. And I was like, oh, this guy is good. Like, he's a good, get over the other guy and just move on. Right.
Friends with benefits.
Yeah. And so there was a little untruth in his profile online because his nieces had set it up for him and it was kind of a joke and he forgot about that. And so long story short is like, I was faced with after we talked and we talked for hours and I liked him and I was like, oh, what's going on with this guy? And then the next day he's like, oh, I have to tell you something. We hadn't even met. And he's like, I'm like, oh, here it comes. He's married. There's some problem.
Oh, no. Right.
He's like, I'm not 26, because at the time I was 29. And I'm
Oh,
like,
thinking.
yeah. And I'm like, you're not 26. I'm like, because I knew he's younger than me. He's like, no, actually I'm 36. No, I'm 37. He didn't even know how old he was.
Oh my
His
God.
nieces had made the profile and they put like, he was just like joking around. He put an age that he wasn't. And my mind was like, run,
Right. Red
run,
flag, red flag.
freaking mind, run. You literally just walked out of this. This is not at all what you wanted. This is like, and now you're like, you don't even know, but my body, and this is long before I knew I was psychic, long before I knew I was a medium, but my body was like, no, like you're doing this. And I remember being so conflicted and being like, okay, I'm going to go down in flames, but I just couldn't not. And it's a whole long story, but we've been married. He's never that I've ever caught him and lied to me ever again. And he never really did. It was out there like that. And I just thought he was 26, whatever. So it's like a joke between us and our family. And I say that is one of those moments in my life where people are like, oh, how did you know, you were psychic and like that was a moment where my mind was telling me one thing very, very, very loud and
Right.
logically so logically so.
Absolutely.
Right. But my body was like, no, like there's like, you have to do this. And I'm married to the most incredible human. We have this great marriage. We have great partnership. Right. And like, I would have missed out had I not listened to my body, my intuition, and I listened to that mind. So, that's what stops people so often from
Absolutely.
listening to their body is because it's often so illogical and it's often so um, different from the protective mechanism that's a lot louder screaming to you and underneath it's very soft going no but no it feels right, it feels right. And it's like, will we trust what feels right when society teaches us not to even trust our feelings at all, and society tells us listen to your logic, or there's all kinds of um encouragement to be logical and practical and analytical, and there's a lot of priority
It's
placement.
hard to find that balance between using your brain and feeling what your body's telling you.
Yes, because so many times they're at odds, right? And especially if you're like me and you're like off the beaten path and it's like, whoa, where am I right now? And your body is like telling you something and your mind's telling you something. I call it conflicting demands because I
Yeah.
have a real estate background. So it's like conflicting demands. And I tell my clients and my friends now, I'm like, whenever these things are in conflict, you always listen to your body 100% of the time. And that's challenging because like this is logical, this is all and it's very loud, but your body can't lie to you. The thing is your mind can lie to you and it does lie to you all the time. And often what's logical is not what's magical and we're here for magic. So
Well,
anyways,
I
that's
know
my
that I similar, not similar exact story, but I met my husband online, and when I was telling people, to telling people the story of our relationship, and people were like, "Oh, you should leave him because he hasn't told you he loved you in a certain amount of time." And I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling something different. And if I didn't listen to my body, I would miss out on the incredible relationship that I have. And so I'd sat there and I'd be like, you know what? In reality, yeah, you know what? I probably could leave if, because it was taking so long. But then I was like, you know what? Something here is telling me just stick with it, stick with it. And I did. And so it is that battle between the brain and the heart and trying to figure out, and it's not just even the heart. Sometimes you'll feel it in your gut, like literally feeling it lower. And I think that sometimes there's a difference in where you're feeling it too, versus the tenseness in your shoulders or your chest or the heaviness. But I know that a lot of people may start realizing as things come up that they might be intuitive, but they don't know exactly what is intuition. Should they listen to their intuition? So when you say your tagline is you're not crazy, you're intuitive. So what does that mean exactly, and how can it relate to intimacy and relationships?
Thank you. That's a great question. It means basically that if you're a human being, you're intuitive, right? Everyone who's like, oh, I think I might be intuitive. I'm like, I'm here to tell you that you are. You may not be using it. You may not be
Right.
aware of it. You may not be. prioritizing it, but we are all intuitive, right? We all have that gut feeling, that instinct. It's called women's intuition because it's actually tied to our estrogen, believe it or not. The more estrogen you have, the more intuition you have. And so there's like a whole thing about that. But so we are highly intuitive. Men are intuitive also, but it's just kind of like our jam as women. It's
So if
our
you're in menopause and we're losing some of the estrogen and we're a little clueless, that could be why.
well, there's a whole thing about menopause and estrogen and rebalancing, but you actually in menopause are going through like a second blossoming, and that is when your intuition comes on super strong, right?
Okay.
It's like, and that's why people think they're crazy because we get to this like, I don't want to say midlife because we're living longer, but like we get to this,
Right.
over 40s, and then it's like, what's happening? What's happening? And if you don't know that you're intuitive, you will think that you're crazy. And I just thought that I was low level crazy my whole life and just could never share with people like what was going on in between my ears. And then as I got older and did more of that personal development journey and started realizing like, oh, I'm not crazy. I'm actually intuitive. And then like, oh, so is everybody. Like we all have this beautiful gift. Like we are supposed to be using this in this way and we're not. And I love to tell people that you are intuitive. And if you think you might be, then you absolutely can learn to, I don't like to say control, but play with it in a more
Right.
intentional way and to use it in a more intentional way. And to even know, like when you're driving and you normally get off on the exit, but like there's just something about today that feels like you want to go straight and you don't know why. And you just pay attention to it and you're like, oh, wow, I avoided like a major,
Accident or
yeah, or like a long delay or something. And you don't even just trust yourself in those little tiny quick moments because you're like, wow, I felt it in my body. That's what I like to help my clients to understand that there is cues and there's clues and everyone's different how their system works, right? But you can get into your own system and figure yourself out and start to go, oh, I've had that feeling in my body. I had that feeling, that place of truth. Like you said, sometimes you feel it in your chest, sometimes you feel it in your stomach. We all have like that place of truth in our body. And you start to get really good at paying attention to, oh, I felt it in that place of truth. And when that happens, then you can trust it. And then you listen to it, that soft, quiet over the big, loud, but you're supposed to get off at this exit, get off right now at this exit. And then you do. And then you're like, shit, I'm sitting in the traffic and my body was telling me not to do this. Right.
right.
And that was how I lived my whole life, like beating myself up, never listening to my body, never. Well, and if I did listen to my body, doing it with such drama, like, oh, what am I doing? It's so dramatic. I'm not listening to my brain. But it's like when we learn these little cues about ourselves and we start to pay attention to it, we have the answers to everything for ourselves. We have that like cheat sheet built right in, which makes life a lot easier. It's like a part of humanness that we are learning to embrace. We are
Right.
waking up to the truth of what we are, and that this is not woo woo or airy fairy or, magic.
Ooh,
This is science, and
yeah.
science is catching up to it. So we're learning in real time how to use it, and it's fun.
Well, speaking of people kind of realizing that they should have listened or shouldn't listen, why do you think so many people ignore that feeling, especially when it comes to a connection? Because you'll have so many people in relationships or getting like dating coaching is what I do as well.
Mhm.
And people are like, oh, I should have done this or I should have done this. Why are people just not listening? Is it not strong enough? Are they not learning to use it enough? Do you know why people may not be so in tune to it?
Well, I can only speak really for myself and for the people that I have coached. And the number one thing that is behind the reason why, well, besides the fact that your mind is a lot louder, your protective mechanism is a lot louder than that soft, small, quiet voice. So there's that. But the other piece of it is that we often, and women especially, we are conditioned to not trust ourselves. And trust is the piece that's missing with the intuitive connection. And it's like when we learn to trust this over everything else, and we anchor into that self trust that is so important, right? Because there's no right or wrong. Right? Everything is neutral. It's we make the meaning out of it. So Stace, like you could go left and I could go right, and that could be right for you, and this could be right for me. But if I'm
Right.
like, oh no, I'm supposed to go right, you're supposed to go right too, and you're like, no, but I'm supposed to go left, I'm supposed to go left too, and we're not checking in with our own internal system, right? Then we're not doing ourselves any service. And it's like we can't tell each other what to do and where to go, but we can help each other to get the answers from within. And those are the right answers for you. And it's about trusting. Like you said, my friends were telling me, oh, he didn't say he loved me early enough. So ditch, right? Or, oh, he told me he was 26, he's actually 37. Get the hell
Right.
out of there, right? But there's this little like feeling, and in my case, it wasn't that I trusted it. I was like, oh, I thought for sure I was going down in flames. It was the
Right.
opposite. But it's like when we can learn, like, no, I feel something here and I'm going to trust that. And we can anchor into that trust, and we take the risk, which is actually not the risk, it's the thing, but what it feels like a risk because this is so loud. And we also learn the truth that this here is not here to help you follow your intuition. Like your mind, that's not your mind's job. Your mind's
Yeah,
job
no,
is not to back up your intuition. Your mind's job is like, are you breathing? Awesome. And if it thinks for 1 second that you're doing anything that's going to stop you from breathing, it's going to stop you from wanting to listen to your body.
right. And we already have, as women, so many self-doubt, so much self-doubt in who we are and what we're doing, and whether it's just lack of self-confidence. And, we just have to try the best to build ourselves up and build strength in who we are and what we do, and really just believe that we're doing the right thing, and just having trust, like you said, and moving forward. So yeah, I guess that's a really, really big, good point to make
Yeah.
for sure.
It's the piece, because what I ultimately end up coaching my clients and people to do is not only to love and know themselves, but to really trust themselves over everything, because you know the answers, you have the answers,
Right.
and it's just
Well,
inside.
you said you do a lot of, energy healing and intuitive coaching as well. And so how does that help people connect with themselves emotionally or sexually?
Well, when it comes to intimacy, and I think you probably know this as much as anybody, is that you can only be as intimate with somebody else as you are really with yourself. Like you really can't share parts of you that you don't even know that you are, or that you've connected with. So working with your energy and helping yourself to be a more connected human being. When I say connected, I mean your mind, your body, your spirit, all being connected. You are at least aware that you are a spirit having a physical experience, right? When you're in that flow of being more connected, you're opening yourself up to passion and joy and all of these beautiful feelings. And then you can share that with another person, and to really be intimate, right? And to be vulnerable with somebody else really takes that, like letting down the armor. And we're all so very armored, right? So doing energy work helps you to unarmor your heart. It helps you to connect within yourself. Like you can heal traumas, you can heal past, things that happened to you in the past. You can move through blocks of shame and resistance. I have clients that sometimes, a bad sexual experience earlier in their life, makes them trepidatious when they're in their new relationships, right? Or if you're like me and you were a child and maybe you had some early childhood sexual abuse going on, your body starts to give you mixed messages, and then you grow up feeling shame and guilt, and then receiving pleasure can be a whole experience, right? I remember in my healing journey when I realized, wow, like I'm highly uncomfortable receiving pleasure because of the mixed messages my little girl's brain got at an early age. And then I was
Right.
like, wow, if that happened to me, that probably happened. And how many, almost 50% or more of my clients have a story about being, um, sexually abused or mistreated in some way, right? It's just,
Yeah, I see that in every day in my practice by somebody.
right. It
It's
blows your mind. It blows, it doesn't matter what religion, is it all religions, all communities, all.
men and women too. It's not just women.
Oh, 1,000%. So many stories, and it blows my mind, but it leads me to believe that we get misinformation at a young age about bodily autonomy,
Right.
and then we also get misinformation because there are certain things as a child when your body is being manipulated. There are pleasure feelings that come across your body that you don't know as a child are wrong, and then you get older and you realize, oh, this shouldn't be right. This shouldn't be happening to me, but my body liked it. What does that say about me? And then you start to feel guilty. You start to feel shame.
Right.
And then you start to block healthy and normal sexual pleasure because you have all of these old feelings and these old things floating around your body. In my case and in many of my clients' cases, moving those feelings of shame and guilt and getting through them and healing, forgiveness for yourself, for the perpetrator, for all of the things really moves you through to more of your wholeness to get you back to that inherent wholeness. And then you can have then the sky's the limit in what you can experience as a conscious adult who's sovereign in your body in a healthy sexual relationship where you feel safe, supported, and you're able to be yourself and be vulnerable and to allow yourself to explore what pleasure feels like, right, in an intentional way. So it really, if you don't do energy work, if you don't go on the inside, my question is, when you're having sex, like, what's happening, right? Because like when you're having sex, you're with you and you're with them. And if you're not healthy and good and feeling confident to ask for what you want and to say what feels good or to say what doesn't feel good, then you're not having good sexual experiences. Then you're not having good orgasms. Then you're not having like you can't be because you're A, faking it, or B, you're afraid to tell them, move your hand to the left a little bit. Like you to be able to have that confidence and to be able to have that communication takes inner wholeness, which only you can provide yourself. He can't, or your partner can't give
Absolutely.
you that.
Yeah. And you're talking about childhood trauma, and I deal with a lot of people that have been through different types of childhood trauma. And because I do coaching, not therapy, I don't actually help them process through. But all the things that you were saying, I mean, childhood sexual trauma affects someone's ability to receive pleasure in the future. So as you know, what you do as the intuitive or spiritual energetic coaching, how do you help some of those people that have those traumas be able to receive pleasure?
Some of the things that we do is inner child healing work, where we go back to the root memories of what the person may have, and we can begin to take your power back in sessions, to be able to rewrite what your subconscious is remembering about the story. Part of my training is in neuroidentity evolution, and that is a somatic, meaning it's of the body, practice method of healing and reprogramming your subconscious, because your subconscious is everything, right? And so when we move through these memories, it's about changing the meaning, right? What your subconscious made those things mean in that moment, and often there's shame and guilt and blame, and we really try to rewrite that narrative and try to pull those old things out, and then in their place, we infuse them with more loving, more positive, more healthy, stories, so that the person can start to feel differently, or it doesn't take away the experience, right? And honestly, all of us, we came into this life sometimes to experience things that are uncomfortable, right? It makes us who we are. The point is not to take away the experience. The point is to make the experience lose its trigger so that it becomes wisdom in your system instead of trauma, because that's the definition of wisdom, is just trauma that has removed the electrical charge, right? Now you have
gives you your power back, basically giving you your power back to write your own story. Love that.
Right.
Well, it's great conversation so far. I want to just go to a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back in just about a minute and a half, and we'll see you in a few.
Cool.
Looking to reignite passion, deepen intimacy, or overcome challenges in your sex life? Meet Dr. Stacy Friedman, a clinical sexologist and certified sex coach with over 20 years of medical and coaching experience, dedicated to helping individuals and couples build more connected, confident, and satisfying intimate lives. From performance anxiety and desire mismatch to communication struggles and curiosity about pleasure and identity, Dr. Stacy creates a safe, judgment-free space for real transformation. Her unique blend of medical insight and compassionate coaching welcomes all, whether you're single, partnered, poly, queer, straight, exploring, or rediscovering yourself. Through one-to-one coaching, she helps clients explore their desires, break through barriers, and embrace a more empowered sexual self. And the best part? She offers a complimentary 15-minute consultation to ensure it's the right fit. Visit drstacyfriedman.com to schedule your free call today. Dr. Stacy Friedman, where her passion is to help you create yours.
I did it. I'm doing this podcast all by myself, production and everything, and it's working.
You can do hard things, girl.
Woohoo! See, I just put my mind to it. But anyway, so great feedback and conversation about how we can help, how what you do helps people with their traumas and all that good stuff. But, do you see that, when you're working with clients, is there one specific block that you tend to see a little bit more of for people that are trying to connect more with intimacy or relationships, or is it just a variety of all different types of blocks?
The block that I see the most, I think, when it comes to intimacy and relationships is that my clients who are beautifully like me, they sometimes struggle to communicate their needs and to hold the energetic boundaries that are needed in some cases. And I also find that a lot of them sometimes find themselves in misaligned relationships. And then they're, afraid to move through it or to make any changes because we become so codependent, right? And that's something that I work on in my personal journey, healing from codependency and recovering from that. And most of my clients are also in some phase of codependent recovery or narcissistic abuse recovery as well. And I think in those cases, we sometimes are afraid to use that throat chakra, right? And to ask and to say the things. And also there is a woman's revolution, I guess you want to call it right now, happening where women are realizing that we're not the same as men where they have a 24-hour cycle, right? We have a 28 or 29 day cycle, right? So society teaches us if you're not horny for your husband all the time, something's wrong with you. And that's not necessarily true.
No, it ebbs and flows.
We go through a cycle. Yeah. So we're waking up to this and really starting to capitalize and understand, when I'm in the right part of my cycle, we could have a lot of fun and it could be great and I'm all into it. But then there's other parts of my cycle where I'm just wanting to rest and reflect and I don't really want you to touch me. And that doesn't mean that I don't love you. It just means that my body does not want touch and connection right now. And I think that when we become confident in ourselves to be able to communicate what we need and lose the pressure to have to be on all the time. You can be on when it is right for you, and then you don't need to be when you don't feel it.
And to have your partner have an understanding also that it is going to ebb and flow, and that just because you may not be in the mood for the touches doesn't mean that you don't love your partner. It's a physical act. It's I don't feel like going to the opera today. It's like doing something that you're just not in the mood for doesn't mean that you don't like your partner.
Yeah. And I see women having sex when they really don't feel like it, just because they feel like they need to, or going on long spells of not having sex because they can't communicate with their partner in a way that even gets them into wanting to have sex. It's women are learning that it's not just about physical things. We get turned on by long before the physical stuff. And
right.
I think helping my clients to have more of that, pre-game, energetic, intimacy prior to is really part of what makes a big difference in their sex lives.
Absolutely. And they have the erotic blueprints where You fill out these questionnaires. It's from Jaya, and she has a quiz that you can find online, and it tells you kind of what erotic blueprint you are. And one of them is energetic. There's a sexual, a sensual, a shapeshifter, which means you can kind of match with all of these. There's a few of them. I think there's 5 different ones. But anyway, there's a lot of people that I'm learning once I learned more about energy, that a lot of the people that didn't like sex, it's because they didn't like this kind of sex, you know? But then when they learned that they were considered an energetic or a sensual, then we had to figure out or help the more likely the masculine energy person to understand more about what is energy, what is, all of the sensuality. So that way we could help do all the foreplay and help the person who has a little bit more of that energetic blueprint to enjoy sex better. And sometimes you don't even touch the person. I mean, you can just go like this on top of someone's arm and feel the energy and do it really slow. And when I do that to myself, I get goosebumps. And
Yeah.
it's just learning about what makes you tick. And sometimes it's not just this.
I think for so many women, it's probably not that a lot. Like or the, like you
Correct.
said, like how you said, the feminine person in the relationship.
Right.
Like, no, personally, like nothing is more of a invitation for me than when my husband like rubs my back or does something that's like more of a relaxing thing and
Right.
just light touches. And then it puts your body into a more receptive
Relax.
mode and ready to receive and ready to. That's the thing about women, right? We're the receivers. So if we're not primed and ready to receive, and especially if you are the kind of woman who's like most of us, Stacey, I'm sure we attract these high achieving type A, like we're going to get it all done. She's out there hustling. She's got her job, her side hustle, the kids, the emails, the WhatsApps are coming, the PTA meetings. And then she's all in her masculine all fucking day. And then she comes home and it's like, how does that woman need to then be
Just
brought
take
into her
me.
feminine, right? Like
Just do all the work for me.
right. Like there's a certain way, like for certain, like it depends on who you are, and like for the
Right.
partner to know that and to really like be able to play the role of like, how do I help bring her from that masculine over hyper independent doing so that she can receive and she can be, the object of your affection in that moment,
Right. Right.
yeah, such a good.
That's very cool. You were talking about like moon cycles and things like that we've spoken about. And you also had mentioned things about twin flames.
Yeah.
And I've always been curious a little bit more about that because I don't really know that much about it. But you said that you have an unpopular opinion that twin flames are bullshit.
Yes.
So what does that mean exactly?
I know so many people. I'm like, oh, so many people are gonna be so bad. But like,
Don't hate her. What does that mean?
don't hate me, don't
No.
hate me. And it's not that I don't think, not that I don't believe in soulmates, and not that I don't believe in all of that. It's not that at all. It's just that I see so many people talking about the twin flames and just using it to describe a relationship where it's intense. There's a lot of passion, right? Maybe sexual, maybe not sexual, but where one person usually has bigger feelings than the other. Maybe there's some unrequitedness, maybe some running away, some unhealthy. And I see so many people, oh, it's my twin flame, just to put a label on a relationship where it's passion and intense, and one person maybe is in it in a different way. But the truth is that, and people start to think, well, then if it doesn't work out with my twin flame, well, I'm just screwed, or I'm just, not
Like
meant to
there's
have.
nothing else after. This is it. Almost like you said, like
Yeah.
a soulmate. So a twin flame is more of like, this is my soulmate.
Yeah,
Is
or
that
like this is like people use it to describe a soulmate that's not working out in this life is
okay?
usually how people
Got it.
describe twin flames. And I'm here to say that like you actually have many energetic matches, right? Where we don't, and as what I love my husband and he loves me, like we don't have just one energetic match, right? That's just the odds of that. And the other thing is, don't abdicate your power to this whole twin flame, like, this is what this is, like this label of this. It's like it puts this like desire, this like, I want you, but I can't have you, like, taboo thing. And I just think people slap these labels on these relationships, and it's very like pop culture, instead of just saying like, this is a misalignment, right? This is not an alignment, because the reality is, if it was an alignment, you'd be hanging out in this lifetime. You'd be together in this lifetime. And it could very well be a soul contract situation from a past life. Like, those things exist. But I think so many people are just so like, oh, it's my twin flame. And I hear this and I see it, and people come, oh, is this man my twin flame? And I'm just like, girl, you are whole right now. You don't need anyone to complete you. It's the idea that if without this twin flame, you're incomplete, you can't have something. And that's just bullshit. Like, you're whole. You don't need anyone to complete you. And you actually have many matches out there. So if it ain't this one, honey, it's going to be the next one.
Well, I think that's why there's a lot of people that are in either open marriages or polyamorous relationships, or, the lifestyle, because you're not going to usually find one person who is going to be your all for every single thing, and it's almost like you can't just have one friend, because you usually take a little bit of something from each friendship that you have. But we do have, society is very strong about monogamy and all this kind of stuff. But there's a lot of people that are happy in monogamous relationships, but then sometimes they still need friendships, so there's
1,000%.
all different relationships that you're going to get things out of. And so people need to, just understand that just because it seems like it might be that one powerful person doesn't necessarily mean that's it for you.
Yeah, and it's just a lot of pressure on a situation that's totally unnecessary, and it just abdicates like who you are as a whole sovereign being on your own, and that just gets me a little riled up a little bit. It gets me like, no to this. Like, you're whole and you're enough, and you don't need anyone to complete you. But it's fun to have accents, and like you said, you can make it work in a lot of different situations. And the choice to be monogamous, right? That's a turn on in and of itself when it's a choice, right? When you're like, I'm making this choice to be with you, because you could go out and be in multiple relationships, and there's nothing wrong with that if you want. But the idea that, now you have this like unrequited love, and then they're your twin flame, and you can't be with them, and you're just doomed to be, pining away forever. Like, I'm just like, you're living in your own stories, and you're creating your own situation, and just knock it off. Just knock it off already.
Done. Enough already.
Just be done. Just be done about it.
That's so funny. Yeah, I was curious about that, because I've heard of it. I just didn't know exactly what it was all about. So I appreciate you giving us all the info. And we had brought up the moon cycles before, and I wanted to learn a little bit about that as well. And so when you talk about the moon cycles and women's cycles, what is the connection, and how is it connected to intimacy?
So I love talking. First of all, I'm obsessed with the moon. I have a Cancer rising. So any of my
My
astrology
dog
friends
is Luna for the moon.
there you go. This is why we're such good friends. I'm telling you, we have
There you go.
so many things in common. So I have a Cancer rising. The moon rules Cancer, and so the moon rules my whole chart. And I'm obsessed with the moon, and I always have been, and a lot of women are, because this is like ingrained in who we are. I think I said before, men, they have a 24-hour cycle.
Right.
Beautiful.
We have 28, you said.
And our whole world is set up around this. Our whole patriarchy is set up around this beautiful 24-hour cycle. However, women, we follow the moon, and we are in a 28-ish day cycle. We have a 28, if you're, once you start getting your period, we have a 28-day cycle. And we have 4 different hormonal profiles within that 28-day cycle, right? And that continues until we're dead, even after menopause, right? Even women say, well, I'm done bleeding. Okay, great, but you're not done cycling. We still cycle. And the moon, it doesn't just tell us and our bodies what to do. It's kind of like the entire planet. And think about like in the springtime, right? All the different life coming into play. Our body responds to the different amounts of light in the sky. And you have to think about like way back when there wasn't all this artificial light and artificial technology. So our bodies were really responsive to the sun and the moon, right? And the moon, it affects certain levels of melatonin and estrogen and different things in our body that tells us to ovulate, tells us to go to sleep, tells us to wake up. So we are in sync with this just naturally, right?
Well, I
Naturally.
noticed, not to interrupt you real quick, I noticed when I was living with three other girls in college, it was like our energetic connections made our cycles go together. It would be like four bitches in one room
Right.
on our
And
periods together when we
that's
didn't
like a
start out
thing.
that way.
Yeah, it's a thing. We sync up with other women, and the fun thing is, not all women. So some women will bleed with the full moon, right? I'm one of those women. I bleed around. Well, it can switch, but right now I'm with the full moon. Other women bleed with the new moon, right? And the reason is because we are supposed to be taking care of each other. And if everyone's menstruating at the same time, then who can take care of us? So the women who are bleeding at the new moon, right? The women who bleed at the full moon, they take care of them during that, and then vice versa. So we often will find women who bleed either at the new moon or the full moon if they're, truly in sync. But we go through these cycles every single month, and within each month there are those four profiles. I like to liken them to the creative elements of our universe. These things make up everything in the universe: air, water, fire, earth, right? And so within that 4-week cycle, we have an air cycle, a water cycle, a fire cycle, and an earth cycle. And we have different energy and different needs physically, emotionally, mentally throughout the entire, and it changes, right? And your cycles might be faster than mine, right? So maybe you cycle through every 3 to 5 days. Maybe I'm 7 or 8 days, right? Just
I ain't
depends on.
cycling nowhere because I don't got a uterus.
No, but you still
But
have
my energy
energetic.
is still cycling.
Yeah, you absolutely, just because you're not, right, just because you're
Right,
not
right,
doing the physical things doesn't mean that your hormones aren't still switching
right.
gears and you're not still in that energy. Because if you track it, which I like to coach my clients to do, if you track it, you're going to find 1 week out of the month where you definitely need more rest, more reset, more
Oh, yes,
recharge, right?
absolutely.
Then you're going to have another week in the month where you are on fucking fire, you're selling everything in your programs, everyone's just like, oh, Stacey, 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 right? And then you have other months where you're like, give me that drawer, I'm gonna you just dump out the drawer and you clean out the drawer like a lunatic, and then you're like organizing and
Yeah.
you're taking all the bins to the Goodwill, right? And then we have other times where we're just like, oh my God, I want to do all the things right now, and I have all these ideas, right? And you're so full of, and you're just so social. And the thing is, our society doesn't teach us this. So women, right, we're in that air social phase where we're like, oh, I want to do all the plans, I want to have all these ideas, right? 2 weeks later, who made these plans? I'm exhausted.
Exhausted.
Why did I say yes to this?
Yeah,
I,
exhausted.
I what is wrong with me? Right. And you don't realize it's because you were in your air when you said yes to that. Now you're in your water and you don't want to go nowhere. Right. And
You're
so
on
when
the
you start
ground.
to, yeah, and you can track and predict your cycles and your energy. And so if you're a highly conscious, high achieving woman and you're able to plan the talk, the vacation, whatever, on the weeks where you're going to have more energy and be more on fire and in tune, great, right? Or maybe you can't, and oh, I had to plan this talk and it's right in the middle of my water week. You give yourself extra love, extra space. You keep your schedule. You know how to support yourself because you know where you're going to be. And I love astrology, right? But it's not about like, oh, it's like your physical body, where it's at in its energetic, creative cycle. And women, like, understanding your cycle, getting in touch with your cycle, knowing your cycles. I don't care where you're at in your menstruation journey, doesn't matter. It is so, so powerful. It gives you so much agency and so much control over the
Jules,
only
which
thing
is
you
really
have
sounds.
control over is your body. That's it.
No, absolutely. And I see how that can definitely affect intimacy because people in different parts of their cycles, sometimes you're horny, sometimes you're not, sometimes you want to be connected, sometimes you don't want to be touched, you want to be. So I see how the cycles for sure. I mean, I even noticed them in me through menopause. So I could definitely see where the cycles are.
And
And
I have to tell you, I have this great idea. Well, it's not my great idea, but my husband and my son and I, we love Jim Gaffigan. He's a comedian and he's so funny. And he has a joke about creating an app for men and women so that like the man knows where the woman's at in her cycle. So he gets like a weather report, like, oh shit, don't fuck with her
they
today.
would pay a fortune.
It's right. Or this is the horny day. If you want to get some, this is a good day to go in and make a move,
Or
right?
play early.
Right? So like what I don't know who could make this app. I'm certainly the last person to be tech, but I want this app. And Jim Gaffigan made this joke about it. And I was like, that he's laughing and making like a haha, but like it's fucking funny and it's like necessary because my
If
poor
anyone
husband,
makes it, let me know and we'll work together.
he never knows. He's like, is this the week? Is this not the week? Is this,
Right.
like, where are we
It's
at, like, with it, because they don't know. They don't know, and it changes, our cycles are not,
Oh yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
right? So things could change. You could be 28 days, 23 days, whatever. Um, so tracking your own cycles so that A, where you're at in your energy, how you can support yourself, and then B, like I was saying before, the one thing that stops us is that communicating where you're at in your cycle to your partner. So then they know how to support you. Oh, this is the week where it would make me a lot of bonus points if I come home and rub her feet versus if
Right.
I come home and try to have sex with her. Oh, this is the week where she might be into that. Like they would know, right?
Yeah.
If we could communicate. And I think so many women are ashamed and afraid that the app would take so much pressure off of,
Well, I
off
think
of all
even
of that.
just maybe journaling, writing down, paying attention to what your normal days are, and then try to see if there's a pattern. I mean, that could be something
Yes.
that could really help people.
Yeah, I have a great tracker that I have. I'm happy to drop a link if you want to share that with your audience. I have like a tracker that you can print and it gives you like the weeks and you keep track of your intuitive
Absolutely.
hits and your cycle and the moon. So the thing is like we sync up with the moon and the moon is like our energetic coach. And the cool thing is that when women sync up with the moon, we sync up with women all over the world because the moon is always in the same phase for us, no matter if we're here in Florida or if we're in New York or in India or wherever, right? We're syncing up when we do moon work. This is why moon work is a big part of my groups and what I do because whether you're with yourself or you're with your friends in a circle, you are linking up to a collective energy because if the moon is full, right, women are doing full moon work in those couple of days, you're adding your energy to that big collective pot. It's powerful. And the thing about feminine energy is it is more powerful in numbers, right? That's where the negative principle. So we
Right.
need, right, the collective. When we put ourselves together and let the moon be our guide energetically, like we are unstoppable. Like we are linking up with the most powerful feminine force on earth. And the more we get the word out and the more the generations do this, just like we used to
That's
back in
cool.
the old days, the more we can create such huge harmony. And I think world peace. I know that's very presumptuous of me.
But you know what?
But
It's got to start somewhere. Got to start somewhere.
why not with the moon, right? Why not
Exactly.
with the beautiful moon?
Exactly. Love that. Love that. We're just going to go to another quick commercial. And then when we get back, I want to just ask you a couple more quick questions and then figure out where everyone can find you to work with you. I know that you have your website on the screen right now, but we'll talk to you in just a couple minutes. See you in a few.
Let's talk about toys. No, not the ones from your childhood. We're talking about the ones that make your bedroom way more fun. Whether you're flying solo or sharing the sheets with a partner or two, it's time to explore what a little buzz, tingle, or tease can do for your connection, your confidence, and your pleasure. Dr. Stacy isn't just a clinical sexologist and certified sex coach. She's also your personal guide to a whole world of adult play. On her website, you'll find thousands of carefully curated items to explore your wild side or deepen intimacy with your partner. From lubes and lotions to vibrators, bondage, lingerie, and more, everything is high quality, discreetly shipped, and hand-picked with your pleasure and comfort in mind. Because here's the truth. Pleasure is healthy, toys are normal, and adding a little spice to your love life can actually strengthen your relationship, improve communication, and boost your overall well-being. So go ahead. Explore your fantasies, try something new, and turn up the heat. Click the shop link at drstacyfriedman.com and start your pleasure journey today. Dr. Stacy Friedman, where passion meets play.
Ooh, passion and play and toys, all that good stuff. So anyway, we want to just learn about some lessons or something. Do you have any personal insight that changed how you showed up in relationships that hit you intuitively?
I think the biggest change over the last few years in my journey has been the audacity to say no, which as a recovering people pleaser or codependent, no sometimes is a challenging word.
Many
Saying
people.
no, yeah, saying no, um, having boundaries. I can't even say keeping boundaries because for me, just having boundaries was like a whole, a whole new world in and of itself, right? Boundaries, and following my body and my intuition versus trying to my mind would offer me different ways that I could this person will love you more, this person will be your friend, this person will right? And I realized that that is the codependent way of like trying to control your relationships. And when I stopped doing that and I stopped listening to the invitations to abandon myself in order to provoke someone else to have a feeling about me or do something, right? It's been not always the easiest thing, but it's been really healthy and healing. And I feel like that has brought me to a much more aligned place,
Yeah.
which is scary because it's not what my mind is used to. My mind is
Right.
used to keeping
It
me.
gives me goosebumps, when you were saying things like that, because so many people I see in my practice will just do things just for the sake of the relationship because they feel they have to, because they feel if they don't, they're not worthy of love, they're not worthy of this, and they don't set any boundaries. And they feel like, oh, well, I have to do this because I'm a wife or a husband or whatever. But I think that you're going to get so much more respect and joy and love for yourself and for your partner when you do set those boundaries. Learn to say no, but also learn to say yes when it's appropriate and not be afraid to take the chances.
Yeah.
So I really love what you said. It really resonated with me and hopefully with everybody else. That was great. What do you feel that there's one thing maybe that you want everybody to know about being intuitive or, being a sexual being and listening to your intuition?
Well, the first thing I want them to know is that it's natural, right? Your intuition and your sexuality are both very natural gifts of being human, right? The thing is, a lot of people in my world, like we talk about energy and spirit and all the things. Well, we were spirit before we got here. We're going to be spirit when we leave here. We have eternity to be spirit. We only have this moment to be physical. We only have this one life, right? We have multiple lives, but you have this one Tammy, this one Stacy. Like this is your one shot at this one physical life, right? So don't worry so much about the spirituality that will work itself out. Try to be in the body, right? Try to find the joy and the pleasure in the body, right? While
And
you
in the
have
moment.
in this body, and all we have is this one moment. Tomorrow and yesterday, those are actual illusions, right? Those don't even exist. All we have is right now. And I think you had asked, like, what would I say? It's natural and to pay attention to your body because your body, every ache, every pain, every chill, every
Telling you
download, it is a direct email from your spirit. It's the only way your spirit can really talk to you is through this beautiful body of yours. And everything that your body is communicating to you is a communication from your soul. And if people could just, even if they're like, she's out of her mind, fine, but just feel into the truth of that for a second, that your body is always communicating that eternal part of you. And it's okay to trust it. And in fact, this is your whole priority in life, this whole thing. And people, that might be like second nature to some people. It wasn't for me. It wasn't.
well,
When
because it's always outside of you. People are not looking inside of themselves.
And as a child
Yeah.
who didn't always have bodily autonomy, we leave our body we go out of the body. And
That's
so
so
the
great.
body is just natural for us, right? And my whole adult just getting back into my body, and oh, there's a body below the neck, like, because this is
Right.
where we live, right? Like, there's a whole body here. Touch her, feel her, love her, accept her, give her all the things, right? Be in your body. It's natural, right?
Right.
Don't be so, like, we live in a country that's a little prude and a little bit like, it's okay. Let your body do its things. Like, it's
Love
gonna,
yourself. Love yourself.
yeah, yeah, just and love all all the things that you think are yuck and gross, and that's what makes you so yummy and delicious. Just embrace it. Embrace it.
Yes. Embrace the yumminess and the deliciousness.
Yes. Yes.
So I love talking with you, and I can't wait to get together again. But I want to let people know exactly how they could find you. You have sacredphilosophies.com up there. Are there any other places we could find you? If people want to work with you, how can we connect with you?
That's a great place to start. You can always reach out to me on my website, but I'm hanging out on Instagram a lot, just at Tammi Lipp, TAMMILIPP. My husband doesn't like to say PP, but I don't mind PP. So you can find me there. And I'm also on Facebook, although, I have to say Facebook's starting to get to be a little much these days. But I love to be social. I love to talk. And if you have questions or you just want to, be in my energy, I have a free group on Facebook. You can come and join my free group and kind of get to know me there. I'm an open book. I love to talk. I never shut up. My name is Lip. God's got jokes for
God,
days.
stop already. We have to get off the call. No, I'm just kidding.
It's part of who I am. I'm a talker. But yeah, come and hang out with me. Slide into the DMs. I love to talk. My DMs are full of, oh my God, you're the only person I can tell this to. You'll never believe what just happened, right? And then they proceed to tell me like the coolest thing about a feather or a coin or something, like
My
magical.
DMs are all about, oh my God, I could tell you this sexual thing that
Yeah.
happened to me, and yours are about feathers. Lovely.
Yeah, or like, some kind of magic thing. Like, I heard a voice today and, I can't tell
That's
anybody else.
awesome.
But slide into my DMs, tell me your funny stories, tell me what you have to say. I want to hear it all.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thanks to Tammi for sharing her journey with us and the energy and busting the myths of the twin flames, all that good stuff, especially learning about post-body trauma. And this conversation reminds us that our intuition is a powerful tool for pleasure, for healing, for love. So if this episode spoke to your soul, make sure you follow Tammi online. Check out her work at Sacred Philosophies. And you have a wellness products also that you can explore with her too. And just definitely keep in touch. And that is it for this episode of Purple Passion Project. I almost got tongue twisted, where we keep it real with just the right amount of spice. If today stirred something in you, let it. If you love what you heard, subscribe to see more. And if you're ready to go even deeper, follow me on social media at Dr. Stacy Friedman for resources, behind the scenes magic. Until next time, stay curious, stay turned on, and never apologize for wanting more. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
This has been the Purple Passion Project with host Dr. Stacy Friedman. Tune in each week as Dr. Stacy breaks down walls, busting myths, and gives you permission to want more with no shame, no filters, and definitely no small talk. Check in every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, on your favorite streaming platforms. We look forward to seeing you next time. Be sure to visit drstacyfriedman.com to learn more. This has been the Purple